Hello and welcome to this phone call catch-up with the Gaffer. How are you doing this morning?
Yeah, very well, thanks, Luke. Yeah, all good, thank you.
So now just 2 weeks on really from the end of the season. Have you had a proper chance to reflect back on the season?
Yeah, it's been relatively busy, to be honest, mate. That's this quiet time for a lot of football fans and players. It's been pretty hectic with sorting out the options and the contract offers that we want to go out, and making sure we sat down with players individually to talk to them. So it does get pretty hectic, but that sort of busy period's quietened off the last couple of days. All the contract offers have been sent, and now there's a little bit of a lull where people are chewing over offers, racing off to sunnier parts of the world, and it'll probably be a little bit quiet between now and the sort of last week of May when it starts to get a bit busier again. But no, we've done everything we need to do, and we've done it as well and as efficiently as we can. So now we just wait a little bit.
I was going to say, obviously you said after the Solihull game that you were desperately needing a break. Have you had a chance to get that at all yet?
No, not really, but we've got the odd day here and there as a family, and I will get away during the half-term holidays at the end of the month. So I'm sure the fans are really concerned about my personal family holidays. So they can rest assured that I will get one come the end of the month.
That's good to hear. And obviously, looking back at that Solihull game, obviously a disappointing evening, but I'm sure looking back now, there are plenty of positives to take, especially in the second half.
Yeah, I think I'm still in shock, to be honest, Luke, because I just didn't anticipate that type of outcome. I thought we were, I know I've said it before, I thought we'd got through the trials and tribulations of the last few weeks of the season, and I thought this is our time now. But it wasn't to be. Credit to Solihull, I thought they were fantastic first half. We weren't. Yeah, we just looked like we just didn't have that little bit of extra acceleration in our legs when we needed it, and the stats would bear that out. So, but yeah, congratulations to Bromley. Been in contact with Andy Woodman to send him our congratulations, and I think it's been a fantastic season for them. So we're really looking forward to seeing how they compete in League Two next season. I'm sure there'll be a match for anyone they come up against.
Of course, looking back at last season in a bit more detail, obviously got off to a pretty solid start and then really picked up before Christmas. So you had that slight drop off in the January, but then again it was a strong end to the season to help secure us that playoff place.
Yeah, we've sort of reflected a little bit on the season as a whole, but we've got more reflection to go through. So there's a lot of positives. We like you say, we started off very, very hard to beat. We made it very difficult for teams. We limited them to, in some cases, no shots. I think that was a real hallmark of the team in the first half of the season. The intention in the second half was always to evolve and become more of an attacking force, and that was slightly forced upon us with Millie Ali came out of the team. Last game was Boxing Day, and then we had that spell which was a little bit sticky where we were evolving and trying to move into a different type of shape and a different style, and that obviously resulted in a run of poor results. And I maintain to this day that not all of those performances were poor. We had poor spells in each game. The Solihull game at home in particular, there was a significantly poor spell in that, and they didn't have to do a great deal to win the game. But there were also positive signs for us as a coaching staff that things were moving in the right direction. And then, of course, that changed in terms of results beyond that, and we started to pick up some more positive results.
And of course, looking at the league, it was certainly an improvement on the previous season. I believe we were 4 places up, 10 points more, and scored 9 more goals as well.
Yeah, and the second half of the season there was a lot of positives. I think up until where it really started to get challenging for us was that York game, Easter Monday, I think it was, that got postponed, and we were on such a good run at that time. Just winning game after game after game, and going into the York game, we felt we were in a really strong position, and we prepared really well to go and win that. And having that 24-hour layoff it really did impact the performances. We lost a little bit of our sort of stride in that, because we'd then gone 3 days without kicking a ball, no game and no training session, and it showed in the performance. We didn't hit the heights we'd been hitting, and then you've got a run of games where there's uncertainty and postponements, and I think in the end we had 9 postponements this season, and obviously 3 games played away from our home, and those were significant challenges. But when you take those into consideration, and then you look at the performances towards the end of the season, the results, the run of form, the fact that we finished relatively strongly, it gives it even more impact, and we should be really pleased with the way the players have approached that, and the fans. Well, the fans were brilliant. I mean, I remember, the away fans have been absolutely amazing all season, and that's not meant as any form of criticism to anyone else. It's just a fact. They've been outstanding, and we're 2-0 down against Barnet in a home tie, but the home tie held at Accrington Stanley, and it was a phenomenal performance by the fans on that day as well, because there's been many a game over the last couple of seasons where a 2-0 deficit has seen a real negative response, but they were fantastic. They got right behind the lads, they carried on encouraging, and the performance against Barnet at Aki Stanley responded. It was one where we played well. We put a very good team under the cosh for the second half. They really struggled to hurt us in the second half, and dare I say it, we were all over them without putting the ball in the back of the net, and that is a huge credit to the encouragement and the support that the fans brought that day. So yeah, it was a really interesting sort of end to the season and second half to the season, and hopefully, if we can have a less dramatic sort of season off the field next season, then hopefully that can result in an even better performance on it.
Yeah, and with that fairly strong finish to the season, obviously helps the momentum into the next, and you're confident of keep making that step in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, look, we so where do you go with this? I don't want to be the guy who's negative, and it's certainly not meant in negative terms. The facts are, we're probably a bottom quarter playing budget in the division. We don't have the biggest attendances, while we bottom half in terms of number of people attending at the Shea, and we've got things that we can improve on as a playing staff and a backroom staff. So there's an awful lot of work we need to do. However, I've always said that none of these things need to be a barrier to us succeeding, and us succeeding is obviously getting into League Two. So, we've got to look at all of these things and say, right, well, how do we turn that into a positive? So, we look at how we use our money wisely and strategically, and I think we've shown we can do that in the success we've had of bringing in players for nothing, the likes of Millie Ali, Jesse Deborah, previous to that, Tom Bradbury, players who've all jumped up to League One. Then there's any number of people who've left us to go to League Two, some for fees and some not. So there's proof that we can provide a playing squad that can compete at the top end of this division. Other things maybe behind the scenes with the backroom staff. How can we be as effective as possible in our processes and how we work together to give the lads the best possible platform for success? Not just development. We don't want to just develop players and see them move on to bigger and better things. We want to develop players so they can serve the club better and move the club on to bigger and better things. That's the objective. So how do we do that as backroom staff? And that's a large part of our reflections in the closed season. And it's a natural time when, I would imagine you're probably weighing up things that you can do better. The Matt in the commercial department will be weighing up ways he can help use the strength of the club to drive more revenue through the club. And no doubt there are others behind the scenes who are looking at ways to make us stronger and actually use some of the strengths of the club to say, well, we don't have to settle for being a National League team. We need to really aspire to being a football league club and find ways to make that happen, even taking into account our constraints. So, how do we make sure that there's a better surface for the lads to play on that can withstand some inclement weather? And all of these things need to be looked at, and people will be doing that naturally, but we have to make sure there are processes in place to try and make us better as a playing squad, as a backroom staff, and as a club as we go into the new season.
Of course, just last one on last season. What was your favourite moment? There were some incredible highs at times.
Yeah, there were some great days. Yeah, the easy one to go for is Chesterfield at home, isn't it? Because it had everything. It had the atmosphere. It had the sort of narrative behind it of Chesterfield coming to town to win the league, and the inclement weather, the challenging pitch. But that's really when this club is at its best. When it's up against the big boys, and the odds are stacked against us as a club, fan base, other departments, backroom staff, players, all seem to step up and be absolutely outstanding on those occasions. So that's right up there. I think performance-wise, those outside of the club might not recognise it, and I know some of the comments after the game at Altrincham away on Boxing Day maybe didn't recognise quite what a complete performance that was. A really impressive game plan. The way it was implemented was the impressive thing. The control out of possession, the control and threat that we carried with the ball, the fact that we limited a very dangerous opposition to only 6 touches in our box, I don't think has been bettered throughout the season. That's an incredibly impressive stat, and arguably should have scored more. So, that was a real positive moment. But probably for me, I think the last game of the season away at Eastleigh. Now, a real challenging banana skin. That you're up against the top scorer in the division. You're up against a team who, in inverted commas, have nothing to play for. But teams always have something to play for. You always want to win football matches, and often are at the most dangerous when they've actually got the shackles off and don't have any pressure on them. But it was the professional way with which the boys went about that performance, controlled possession, hurt them when we had the opportunity to hurt them, prevented them from really threatening us, and under quite a lot of pressure, looked really calm, collected, and went out and did a job. And then, come the end of the game, there's no big celebrations of champagne corks popping in the dressing room. It's right, business as usual, let's move on. Now, of course, we fell at the next hurdle, but, the way the lads approached that, went about that, implemented a game plan, under some serious pressure, having only played, 44 hours earlier at Chesterfield against Oldham. I think what the lads achieved in making that such a controlled victory might be lost on some people, but certainly it needs highlighting. So that's probably the one for me.
And of course, so far we've now announced 4 departures. Luke Summerfield obviously brought a lot to the squad in terms of quality and experience.
Yeah, Summers' longevity as well. He's been here 4 years, which is very unusual these days. And listen, there aren't the words really to describe the impact he's had over the 4 years. He's a real true professional. Very low maintenance. Doesn't need a lot of attention, and doesn't demand attention off staff or other players. Just turns up, gets his job done, prepares himself in the most professional way possible, and goes out and rarely drops below an 8 out of 10. Always has a positive impact on the game. A real good person to know, and it'd be a loss in many respects, but he's earned the right to be treated in the absolute highest regard at Halifax Town, and certainly I'll make an effort to stay in touch with him, and we'll welcome him back with open arms whenever he chooses to come and visit us.
And then, of course, it was Rob Harker who ended the season as our top scorer.
Yeah, Rob, another top lad. I've got a lot of time for Rob. I think he's got a huge amount of potential. I think for reasons I'm not quite sure of yet, I think we've failed to see that potential realised. He's got so much more to offer, and I think maybe the environment, the demands of the club, the demands of the training environment that we have, as maybe something within that, and maybe an accumulation of things mean that we've not seen the best of Rob consistently enough, and that's the sort of main reason that the decision was taken. That as much as it would have been easy to keep him around it and keep sort of plugging away trying to find solutions, that we felt that it was probably best for both parties, more so mainly for Rob to go and challenge himself somewhere else.
And then, of course, the other two, Tom Scott and Tom Wilson, obviously for various reasons, just never really got the chance to show what they can do.
No, unsung heroes in many respects. Firstly, Tom Scott, again, given us 3 years of good service. He's probably the toughest job in the playing department. He's been a second choice keeper at Halifax Town, because Sam Johnson ain't going to miss any football unless his leg's falling off, and even then he'd probably tell us he was fit to play. So it is the challenge for that role is staying motivated, because Tom's role becomes about making sure that he's providing enough of a performance in training to stretch and challenge the outfield players and make sure that they're getting tested in the right way, and that can be a difficult thing. We've seen over the years number twos come and go, and by February they find it incredibly difficult to stay motivated, knowing that they're highly unlikely to get a start at any point. So Tom's been amazing in that sense, and again, he's got other challenges on the horizon, so we wish him all the best. And Tom Wilson, just a victim of circumstance, really, Tom, and someone who we could have triggered the option. We could have just kept him around it, just for the sake of having a good lad and having a potentially good player around it. But the plan for Tom this season gone was to make sure that he got out, got loan minutes, got experience at a higher level than he'd been playing, and prepared himself to be ready as a regular starter at the beginning of this coming season. And for various reasons, one, injuries to the group, we had to keep him around it in case we needed him when he should have been out on loan, and then two, when we had players coming back like Festus, like Joe Cummins, Tom picked up a knock and was unable to then go out on loan. So a real victim of circumstance, but again, a decision made really with both the best interests of the club and the best interests of the player at the heart of the decision. So, we can look Tom in the eye, shake hands with him, and send him on his way with our best wishes, and in the hope that we get the opportunity to work with him again at some point in the future. We shouldn't rule that out.
And I understand that every other player that is out of contract has either been offered a new deal or had their options exercised.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we want to maintain a consistent approach to our squad and try and maintain consistent numbers, because we've seen in the past, I think going into Pete's third year as manager, was the first season we really managed to maintain a significant number of the squad, and it just means you start the season that bit better because you're not getting to know each other. The players aren't getting to know the staff and the environment, and the staff aren't getting to know the players in a sort of day-to-day sense. So it means that you can just start the season from a slightly higher base, So, and plus, listen, I should mention, we're pleased with the players that we've got in the building. We think we've got some excellent players who've still got room for growth and room for development. Now, does that mean we'll keep them all? The fact we've offered them all contracts? No, it doesn't. But even if we can keep 50% of those who are out of contract that we've offered, then it'll be a decent return.
And obviously, it's the rumours circulating all the time, but any potential new signings on the imminent horizon?
Nothing imminent. No, we're talking to players. I mean, the way we go about it is quite thorough. We have, again, I'm saying this to give you a bit of context and a bit of background, because a lot of clubs will just have a phone call with a player and then email them an offer because they know that financially they can be quite strong on the money. We don't have that privilege, so we'll make sure that any serious targets we've got, we actually go and sit down with them. We talk to them about the development and the coaching environment. We talk to them about the staff they're going to work with. We show them a pathway that has been trodden by those of the like of Tom Bradbury, Jesse Deborah, Jade Ben, Millie Alley, Jack Senior. These lads who've all gone off and progressed into the Football League and are now real established players in the Football League. So we have to make sure we commit time to that, and just because we do that doesn't mean we get them all. We're still vulnerable to raids from other clubs who might just want to throw a bit more money at it. So it is quite a long drawn out process and doesn't happen overnight. So I would anticipate we'll probably be into June before we really start to see significant progress on that area. But that doesn't mean that there's not a huge amount of work going on to make sure that we're selling every best aspect of the club when we do sit down with players. We make sure that we give them a thorough presentation of what it means to play for Halifax Town, what we're aspiring to do as a football club, and what the benefits will be to that individual player should they make the right decision and come and play for us.
And finally, obviously, I'm sure you're organising plenty of friendlies at the minute. What's the schedule looking like so far?
Yeah, we're pretty much done actually. We've got a decent number of friendlies booked in this season. We've taken a couple of extra fixtures to make sure that more players get more minutes from the word go. We've just got one slot that we're looking to get occupied, and hopefully all of those will be confirmed by the club secretary in the next week, and they'll be out with the fans to be able to cherry pick which ones they can come and get behind the lads and have a little look at maybe some of the new signings. So well on with that, and looking forward to getting that announced as soon as they're all confirmed.
Thank you for your time.
No, it's a pleasure, Luke. Thank you.